Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, Fictional Minds. Today I'm going to talk about Mark Scout from the TV show Severance. Okay, so Mark works at a company called Lumon Industries, and he has undergone the severance procedure, which pretty much separates a portion of his personality to have at work and then his home life. So these are two separate personalities. They called innie and outie. The innie is the work memories, and the outie is the person outside of work. So Mark decided to get severed because he was grieving the loss of his wife, and I mean, this TV show, when I started watching it, blew my mind. Like, I could not stop watching it. And then it took so long for season two to come out. But anyway, yeah, Mark lost his wife, and so he decided to get severed. And I think the reason for this was because when he's at work, he doesn't have any memories of anything. All he know is work. However, when he gets home from work, those memories still come back because he knows his wife. But I guess in his mind, getting 8 hours of nothing, because technically for 8 hours he doesn't exist. He's not awake. He doesn't know what's happening. When he leaves work, that's when he wakes up again. Um, okay, so some of the things that I've picked up is he is a nurturer, but also a mediator. I think that Mark shows gentleness, kind of, and he values connection with people. I think he's very loyal, and we kind of see that with how he is, kind of like with Gemma, how he feels about Gemma. I think that he is also seen, he kind of can be seen as the peacemaker. I get that from him, uh, both his innie and his outie. Well, I guess his outie has much more personality. He's much more sarcastic, but it just seems like he has the general keep the peace mentality. I think he is fearful, avoidant. His outie is numb. He numbs his grief with alcohol. He's completely detached. He avoids intimacy. I mean, we see what happened in season one when he kind of goes on a date and it does not go well. So we do see that he's a little bit of a mess. Now, his innie, he of course wants closeness. He kind of falls for Helly, his coworker, someone else who is severed. And so they only know each other at work. They have no idea who each other is outside of work. Um, he does not like conflict, and he tries to just be like the, I don't know, kind of like the teacher's pet, even though they're working. It's kind of like the teacher's pet in a way. I mean, we do see this slowly him turning because he's realizing like how messed up this actually is. So we do see where he starts to rebel a little bit. Um, I think some of their coping mechanisms, the any mark and outie mark are slightly different. The outie mark, very avoidant. We already spoke, he drinks. He numbs himself with the drinking. And any mark, he uses humor. He's very passive, and he likes to connect with his coworkers. He doesn't have much to kind of go with because his coworkers is all he knows. I mean, that's it. We don't know much about his childhood, and we could find these things out later on in the season, or later on in the series. I do know, based, what we see now, him and his sister are very close. I really like their relationship as well. Um, they're very loyal to each other. Um, and one of the biggest things that I think changed for him, of course, is his the death of Gemma and the severance procedure. Um, and some of the patterns we see, like for Audi Mark, whenever things get real, he kind of retreats into himself, especially when he gets overwhelmed. He definitely leans on that bottle a little bit too much. Um, and then any Mark, you know, he's kind of like a child in a way. He wants that connection, but he's kind of hesitant and scared, and just kind of waiting around to be loved, it feels like, right? So we see that Outie Mark kind of put himself, any Mark, in this crazy predicament. And, I know this is a TV show, but if we think about how we kind of sabotage ourselves, some of our actions and things that we do leads to just not great things. And I think this is kind of an extreme example, but still an example of how we can make a decision that kind of hurts us in the long run. Now, I do like Mark and Helly's relationship. I think it's so cute. And I say that he's kind of like a child, but I think aren't the innies more childlike because they don't really have any experience or know anything outside of the Lumen walls, you know? Um, I think some of the real world ties that we can see is grief. One thing about Mark is he is grieving, like heavily grieving, and it's very apparent. I mean, just looking at his face, Outie Mark is, life has definitely worn him down. Um, I would also say that he has depression. He's very avoidant. Again, uses alcohol. He also disassociates, literally, which is what Severance is. It's like completely disassociated from life. Um, so yeah, it's kind of heartbreaking when you really sit and kind of reflect on his character and kind of what he has gone through and the reason that he would separate himself from himself. We don't have much to go on because this is still a new series, but I do think that I would like to touch on this again and kind of just discuss like the whole process of severance and how many of us, like, let's be honest, how many of us would do it? I mean, me personally, I cannot see myself doing it, but I do know some people that might. Because things can be so painful. Sometimes we just want to kind of disappear or, you know, just not have to deal with these horrific things. And him losing his wife, that was pretty horrific. And then we found out, they were trying to have a child, and so it just gets kind of very depressing. And also, I kind of understand why he did it. I mean, it sounds insane, but when you see like these examples of why someone want to do that, it's I mean, I don't know. I understand it, I guess. But that's all I have today for Severance. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoy. Bye.